Hey, look, chat actually works. That didn't work last time. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Well, welcome. Hello. Um, I was gonna put on background music. I kind of had like last minute everything. It's always last minute everything. But hopefully everybody's having a good Saturday. It's Saturday, right? Yeah, I'm gonna say so. You're good. Cool. Um, I have like two of me on the monitor. It's really weird, and nobody likes listening to themselves. But it's even weirder when you have to look at yourself. Uh, But welcome. So the this was something I was wanted to do monthly, and I really didn't do one last month because I'm feeling it's better to do it right after I put out something because people like I think people like behind the scenes. I'm gonna think that. I'm not sure. Uh, I really enjoy stuff, seeing how things are made, and so that's kind of actually what I want to do here. But also, it's as an AMA, so it's if you guys have any questions, hello Brandon. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to ask, whether it's SFM related or anything really. I'll see what I can do to answer your questions. So, um, it's Zach says, is it bad that my morning coffee is beer? Not really. There's actually, so I have a cup of coffee right here. That goes that direction. There's actually a local cidery here. They make an apple cider that has coffee in it, and and they don't just add coffee to it. It's literally brewed with the cider. It's really good. It tastes a little bit beerish, but that is one of those that you could have in the morning. Why not get both at once? Um, he only has coffee with cream and sugar. No, this is black coffee. I started a kind of a strictish diet last May to try to lose weight, and I'm down like 50 pounds. I'm down 51 pounds right now, and one of those no sugar, and so there's no anything in here because I had to get used to black coffee. So I changed how I did things, and so I make good black coffee now. Just a little hot right now. I think I'm gonna give it a minute. Well, thank you, man. Awkward. But I'm not sure what an NOK is, but thank you very much. If you super chats are enabled, but don't like feel like anybody needs to. I mainly just I like these interaction stuff. But I want to check here if like actually since I started this earlier, I'm not even sure if I missed any questions from you guys. There's a lot of words of coffee, so I'm glad that you guys are know which is the better drink. One dislike is from someone who flipped the phone upside down because they love the stream so much. Oh, okay, yeah, it's an inverse negative. Blow on it? No, it's because normal coffee temperature is like 50 Celsius is the normal like good temperature range, and when I make this, it's probably 70 or 80 right now, so I have to let it sit for a little bit. So usually once the steam starts going down, it's good. The coffee, this is a Guatemala coffee. There's another Mexican one that I actually like more, but I decided to change it up a little bit. This one, if you let it cool down a little bit, it actually gets sweeter. So that's why I want to give it a little bit of time. It actually is way better that way. If anybody, don't worry about it. I'm good. Yeah, we basically just screamed coffee. Yeah, that's fine because coffee's good. Coffee's brilliant. Sally, goes my Mac. Yeah, Mac has some issues with SFM. But Mac, I just don't like Macs in general. But so if you guys want to post any questions, great. I'm going to try to get to them, but I want to show some behind the scenes stuff because I think that's really, really cool of how things are made. And so somebody had brought up in my Discord, which if you want to join, there's a link below too. There is, they brought up how one part was done in the Austraeoh video. So originally I was going to do a different video for behind the scenes, but I thought this would be actually kind of cool to do. So the Austraeoh video was based on a fanfic that was made by Short Circuits and Explosions, and it was probably one of the more ambitious videos I've done to where I wasn't even sure as I was going through. That's why this is one of the few times where I have actual like detailed text as to what I was going to be putting in those shots so I could keep my thoughts together. Oh yes, I do have a Discord. There's a public Discord you can join below that is I don't know. We just chat on weird random things. But if anybody has SFM questions, there's actually quite a few bigger SFM members that actually do help out people there. So there's some of these shots in this video that were difficult to figure out, and I always tend to start with the hardest the hardest thing to make in a video, because sometimes it's like a proof of concept. If you don't know if it's going to work or not, you don't want to start with the easy stuff and spend half your time working on something and then get to the hard part and figure out that really critical moment you can't do at all. So I tend to like starting with that hard stuff. COVID is over, the first Corona convention I'm going to go to. It feels so good. I know, like, for Cider Fest was what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. And Cider Fest is my favorite convention, and the online was done spectacularly, but I do miss it. I'm looking forward to next year having some open, but only if things are ready to. Never been to a convention. I'm probably too young. I only became a brony after about a year. The conventions are great. They're spread all over the place. So if you can, I'm in America, so we have quite a few around here. Not as many as you used to be, but it's fine because I think it's getting to a more manageable number. But they're always great. It's just a great place to make new friends. Who's your favorite princess in MLP? Mine's Celestia. She's Sunbutt's best. Are you going to take use of Source 2 as a filmmaker? Yes, actually, because I streamed last night on Twitch and somebody had brought that up, and so I did show it. So I have played with Source 2. So Source FilmMaker 2 is the new engine version of SFM, and it works brilliantly for most things. The one thing I can't bring over right now is facial flexes on models, and that's kind of needed to do anything, so I can't use it right now. But everything about it I am loving so far. So especially the fact that it doesn't change visually. It looks all the same, but way better back end stuff. Mainly that it doesn't crash because it's the 64-bit. So I'm glad they finally did that. Been a Brody since 2013, but fell out but came back. I feel like I've been always on a wave. I'm kind of at a lower end right now of it, where I'm trying to do lots of stuff, but the video making is I've always been. And most of my friends have been made from the Brony group, and Brony or not, it doesn't matter. We barely do any pony stuff now. It's just hang out and have fun. But so it just kind of started on this one shot, and I kind of wanted to show how this shot was done in the Austraeoh video, because I feel like this one is this is one of those hard shots that I wasn't sure how to do. And so in this, I'll mute it here. In this one, and it's going to run at a lower frame rate because it's like live in the engine. I was trying to figure out, like, how do I make something look really, really big when you don't have an engine that really works well for very, very big things? So I was really unsure how to do that. So I started like looking at anime. And so if you back up here, it's actually just multiple layers of this larger cityscape. And I have them move counter to the camera. So it gives this feeling that things are further away when they're not. And I started using that in a lot of other things in videos that I've done too, where if something is further away, instead it's like, I brought this up once on Twitch. If you think about, like, the background things don't move compared to the person. So you can either make them really far away to do that, or you can kind of like do the inverse, where you just have it follow the person and it makes it look like it's staying the same. And then everything that's closer in different levels, you just reduce that a little bit. And so it's kind of what I was doing in here to make it give like a fake spin. And it was anime that kind of gave that idea to me. And it was easier to do this in layers than to actually try to find like individual models to do. So it kind of gives this like feeling of a flat texture for each of the areas, but they are all 3D models. And that is more visible when you see some of these lights actually shift and move in the background, because I wanted to make it, without that, it just didn't have depth. The other neat thing with this shot though, is if I disconnect from the camera, so at this point I am no longer attached to the camera, the only thing not moving in the shot is the actual pony. Everything else in this shot is moving, and it ended up being kind of an accident. So if I fly over here and just sit right next to Ember here, she's the only one actually not moving. It's a play on perception. So I like doing it where if you can't do one thing, just if everything goes negative, then it's the same thing in the end. It looks identical. It's just, and maybe you can solve a problem because of that. Make sure there wasn't any Question I missed here. Autocorrect is annoying. Yes, it is. I liked one of my friends was always like nitpicky on stuff like that, and so like I remember texting him and saying like, when do you want to meet? But I put MEAT, and he didn't say anything about it. I'm like, and it bugged me because I'm like, no, he's anal about this stuff. You should have said something. I brought it up like a month later, and he's like, I know you did that on purpose. I know you did that on purpose. And I couldn't say anything because I knew. I love grammar Nazis. You guys are still talking on Best Princess, really? Um, it is, but you're all talking Luna, which isn't. That's not right. That's not correct. So, so yeah, these shots are pretty much the same. This one's a little bit less so. And these are very much built to work from a specific angle because I don't want to build a whole scene build that I don't need for the camera because it's just going to be inefficient. You can already see that based on like the lighting and everything that's just in this one, the frame rate I'm running at, and this is previewing at 1080. If I turn the preview up to 4K, which is what I'm normally going to render at, it's going to take forever. Like even down here, 128 cycles, it's still running just to do one frame. This is nothing compared to like if you were in Blender and you had it running at cycles. Some of these could take minutes or hours to do a frame. So SFM is still efficient in that regard, but I like doing a render overnight. I don't like to have to let this sit in the background and like do it overnight and then come back and 4 frames are done. No, I don't have a server. So I like SFMs for its simplicity in that regard. Let's see. My little animation force perspective is magic. It's the only thing that ever matters in anything video wise is anything within the frustum right here. So this is showing where the camera is seeing. Anything outside of that doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And not only that, but only what it sees matters. So there's times, and this is one of those, the ones that was brought up. So in this one, the question was, how does this main work? Like how did I get this to look like it does? And this is very much an example of something working from a specific angle. So what this is it's normal Celestia. But I just recolored her so that she didn't have like the pink. She was more like yellow. So this is white main from the story. And this is all the Rainbow Dash Equestria girls. Like her main, I guess, the Equestria girls, so they are actual hair. And I just recolored it to make it look yellow. And I like the Rainbow Dash main because it's again. I like the Rainbow Dash hair because it's both on the pony and the EKG, just because it tends to be more scattered and random, not like rarities that's overcombed or Fluttershy's that's just physics breaking. So these tend to be better for just random situations. And so I just took like 2 copies of her mane or her hair, so you can see the 2 here, and then one for the. Actually, there might be 2 for the tail. Yeah, there is 2, mainly so that I could give a separation of it. And then another one just to go around the back. But this is very much where it only works from one angle. As soon as you go to the other side, it kind of breaks down a little bit. It doesn't work. I could very much make it work, but only then from this angle and nothing more. So if I zoom in now into here somewhere, there's a bunch of heads and everything mixed in here because I just merged models. So we got to find. Actually, I can probably find it if I do. Oh. Oh, that's that one. Where is your? There it is. So this should be, yeah. This is the rainbow dashes. So I just threw her head up to the top of the body and adjusted it. That's why from this angle, you see all these eyes hiding in there because that's her head with all her normal textures hidden, just to try to get that to work. Oh, and there's another one up here. So there's like 6 names, 6 hair bits that are in here. And I did this because no matter what I did to retexture Celestia's mane, it still looked like Celestia, and I needed something that would separate the 2. And so this definitely gave that better separation. Creepy. Yeah, it is creepy. I do this a lot though, where if I need like pieces of different models, I will like hide the pieces and shrink a lot of it into the pieces of another. I've done that a lot. Actually, there's another one with Rainbow Dash even. I've always Celestia over the years, and I just relate to Luna more. No, I can see that. Gamer Luna especially. And this is another one trying to make something that seemed large. And this one, like you'll see the little like speckles floating around. That's maybe not realistic, maybe not needed. The reason that I love putting like little speckles of like dust or floating bits in there is when you have a camera that's shifting and moving like this, it creates, it like gives volume to the whole area. So because everything is moving and shifting then within it, it just makes everything feel more three-dimensional and involved. It may not be realistic. It feels better to me, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that's pink, actually. And that's the light. Something's weird there. But there's not really too much to, yeah, I don't know why everything's pink. See, it's fine here. This one was an interesting shot. How do particle effects work anyway? This is the old SFM. Like, old SFM was basically still using just a modified version of the 2004 Half-Life 2 particle engine. It's very bad. It's very confusing. There's not much information out there to help people figure it out. Particles are annoying. I've only kind of learned it over time, but all I do is I copy paste particles that already exist and I use those because it's way easier to find something that's close and modify it than it is to make anything from scratch in particles. You hate pink. Why? It's light red. So in this shot, I needed to make something that was fisheye, but SFM's not really going to do fisheye. So I just like built it to be fisheye. So I built all the surroundings and all the trees to actually curve in towards the edges and then flatter towards the bottom. And I then had all the clouds like kind of come in at an angle towards the top. So since I couldn't make a good fisheye in SFM that would work, I instead just made it look fisheye. And this is probably one of my favorite shots from this because it is super, super short, but it felt really good to me, and having the little flowers move and the animation of her running was cheated too. That is the same animation used for Little Pip to from leaving the stable to run out of the stable. When she goes to run out the door, it's the same animation, just cleaned up a little bit. What new Minty animation? Minty made a new animation. I haven't actually watched it yet, but definitely go check it out because his special effects are amazing. Minty Root. Just YouTube search him. What did the color pink ever do to you? Pink is just light red. Just like brown is light or is dark orange. I think it's always funny that we separate that one. I love brown though. I mean, that's actually like that light's brown. I have a lot of brown. I mean, like the place I live is mainly wood, so I love brown. Butt shot indeed, yes. Yeah, I don't know what's with the pink. With like, it's goofy. For Sam here, his armor is just Elder Scrolls armor. I just like merged it around into making something that works. He's supposed to have a dragon helmet, but I couldn't get something to work on his head, so I just put it next to him instead. Let me see if my RAM will handle shifting to another shot here. Let's do, I think I'm in number 2, right? Yeah. Let's just shift to not ship. No shipping here. Reason looks so weird. Red is darker and matches my personality. Oh, it's emo. Pink Link Rage 2 ads campaign. I've never played Rage. It looked good, but I just never got around to it. So the reason that this video is split into multiple files is some of these scene builds were so big that I was running into RAM limitations. So being I'm running a 32-bit, if I, like right now, I'm running at like 2,400 megabytes of RAM, but if it hits about 3,400, it'll crash. And so if I make a video too big with too much stuff in it, it will literally not work. I will, by opening it and doing anything, it will crash on me because I just ran out of memory. So that's another reason that S2FM is going to be great, is because it'll let me go to using a software that has 64-bit. But to fix the limitations here, I had to break the video into pieces, and that makes it really hard to do things. And that's why I had to start like summarizing some of the stuff here, because when I started breaking it up, I would work on one part and I'd start forgetting what I was doing in other parts, and it was just it was annoying. So this was my solution to it, and I've had to do this, I think, a couple times. Leaving the Stable, had to do it because that was just so long. This one I did, I had to split it into 4 files, 5 maybe, 4 main files, and then Rocket Surgery was split into 2 files as well. That's what I made so far as Leaving the Stable. I love that video. I learned so much in that video, and I think the funnest part about Leaving the Stable was the cinematography. It was taking audio I hate sound editing. It was taking audio that already worked and then building the camera and the storytelling through video for something that wasn't built for video. That was so fun, and I am so happy with the way it turned out. It's probably one of my more from idea to inception, like my favorite transition in that regard. Is that Rainbow Dash? Yes, this is Rainbow Dash. It's Rainbow Dash with weird eyes. You have to read the story to understand why. This scene morphed so many times. And again, this is just, it's built to be what's on camera. I didn't know what to do with this, and originally I had a much more complex idea, but it was getting too much scope creep. I mean, there was a ton of scope creep in this as it was, but I needed to rein it back a little bit, and so I wanted to do a fight scene bit, and so all the slow-mo bits are literally just, they're not actually slowed down, they're just made to look like a slowed down. So I'm not 100% happy with how this scene turned out, but I hadn't really done fight scenes like this before, so I was happy with the end result. I just feel some of it went by a little quick, but that's what anime intros are. So she fly. She woof. She's not even looking at them. She's just angry at the ground. God damn it, ground. Was a little bit. This actually has speed lines, so you can actually see some speed lines pop up whenever the camera changes. Whoop, whoop. Because it just helps with the transition. And I think even for these, when I do the camera shift, the camera actually zooms in. So from here, it actually zooms in on her head and then pulls back to help give you a central point to a focus. Because if you go and shift the camera really fast and you don't have a central point of focus, you're going to lose track of where you are. But because of having her head like this and turning with it, it feels like you're following with. So it's pretty cool. All right, this shot's confusing. So this one, I couldn't build an environment big enough. So what I did was, so this ground area, actually I'm going to put the camera from a side here. This ground area is actually just a flat thing. Every now and then I put like a building out in the distance just to create some depth, but this was done where I built an entirely large scene build and then took a photo of it from above, which is what you see here. So that all the shadows and the perception, so that you can see like this is the side of the building and then the side of this building. So it's the correct perception. And I took a screenshot and then added bump maps. So that's why you can, if I go down here, it feels like they have a little bit of depth. And then I just kind of copy pasted that texture over and over and over again. So as soon as you can kind of see a transition right around here where you can see the left side of these buildings and suddenly the right side of these ones, and it's just to fill in the background. And I arced it so that it kind of filled into a rounded horizon. So this is all manually put down there. To break up the horizon bit, I just put these mountains there, added a little bit of volumetric light whenever you could see the horizon, just to help it blend a little bit better with the background. And throughout this whole thing, he's not actually falling. There's a little bit right there, and then they're coming right back to normal. And this was done because if I had them actually falling that far, I would be hitting the ground way really. So instead, what I did was anybody that he's coming at, so like this dragon here, he's not actually getting any closer to it. It's the same distance it's always been, basically. I think it might change a little bit. Where are you? There you are. But what I do is I change its scaling. So it's smaller, and then as it gets closer, it actually gets bigger. Because if you watch something and you're like, as I'm falling and I'm getting closer to something, it looks like it's getting closer because it's getting bigger. So instead of actually moving him towards it, I just took all the things that made it look like it was getting closer and did that instead. So a lot of these dragons that are around, I think there's even one that's like below here, gets bigger. You can see it getting a little bit bigger in the ground there. And to save memory too, all those dragons, if you kind of watch them from here, some will pop in and out of existence in random spots. They're the same dragon. I just keep moving them around so I'd have to load multiple dragons. That shot is all anime intro cliches. It's what it was based on, and so a lot of what was in this video I copy pasted from the Brave Shine intro from Fate Stay Night, which is it Fate Stay Night? Yeah, Fate Stay Night, and I think that was like intro 2 or 3. I can't remember which of them. And it was, I love the song, I love the intro, and so a lot of this is based on the same things. I did take my own interpretation of a lot of it, and try to go a different direction to try to merge it into the story. But I still wanted to maintain an anime feel for sure. You're doing a good job explaining each bit in great detail. Well, thank you very much. I do this like twice a week, so I have a lot of practice. So ignore the little floating eye there. So one of the issue or difficulties I was going to have was Rainbow Dash. Also, the fun thing was she's not supposed to have a horn. It's actually Velvet Remedy's a retexture of her, and I forgot to get rid of the horn. So that was brought up in the video of like, why does she have a horn? She's not a unicorn. I'm like, oops. Oh well. Video, there's always going to be errors. So here for Rainbow Dash, I needed to make it look like she was going really fast downwards, but having hair that's floating downwards then turned just looked like crap. So the way I did it instead was I was like, well, let's put her mane backwards. But how do you do that? How do you put a mane backwards? You can't just grab it, like remodel it to look that way. So what I did was I grabbed Daring Do's model, because Daring Do is literally just a recolor of Rainbow Dash, and modified her hair color to be an inverse for the red and the yellow on her main color. So it was backwards, because Rainbow Dash's front hair would be yellow on this side. And then I just put her head and hit all the textures, and the eyes right now are not disabled, so that's why you can see them. And had the mane floating on top of Rainbow Dash's head without her mane at all. So if I go here and turn off mane, you'll see that she's just bald. This one was fine in the back because it didn't matter. But these ones are the mane that was needed, if actually I go and, which is the more important one? This one. If I go and remove the overrides, then you can see it's actually Daring Do's head that's in there. Kind of jammed in, and with her hair color. So that was the way I did this one. Social media, these 3D montages of your videos, I think it costs a lot of hours to complete to do it. Oh yeah, these take forever. This video took me 9 or 10 months at least. And that was of quite a bit of work. And I think it's really hard to, like, rocket surgery took me like 2 years. But that was because I spent a lot of time deviating from the project. So as to how many hours I put in, I have no clue. Never knew how much perception mattered in SFM. Well, it matters in everything. SFM is just, it has limitations, and so you can either choose to be frustrated by it or find your workarounds. And so this is the workarounds. And this, but you can do the same workarounds and other things. There's definitely similar that's done in other softwares as well. I brought up the example once of if you ever watched Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs. I can't remember the full name of that, but that movie. There's shots where they show the camera like a profile of the person's face, but they're working on a cartoonish style. So if you watch in a normal cartoon like Ponies or whatever, when somebody talks, you can actually see all the way through the mouth. But in a 3D environment, you can't do that. It's the same like when you see Ponies when they do a profile, but then you can see their back eye around their head. How does that work? Like that doesn't, that it, no, you can't do that. In 2D, you can get away with it, but in 3D, you can't. So what they did in the profile was in profile shots. So instead of seeing the inside of the mouth, they literally just grabbed the face on the other side and stretched it way backwards so that you couldn't see anything through the mouth. And it worked. The shots look fine, but only be from that angle. It's your perception of it. But it's just, I've said before, in not just SFM, but anything, what the camera sees is the only thing that matters. So anything outside of that, anything behind something, anything you can't see, doesn't matter. So you can cheat and do whatever you need to do to make it work for what's on camera. Yeah, you can decompile files and modify stuff like that. It just gets the amount of time it would take to do that modification for that one thing would basically completely negate any time that would just take me to do this. And then, so for me, it was, I like doing it this way because for one, if you learn a workaround, it's like something you can add to your little library of things that you know how to do now. And the more often you do that, the more you can start combining those and you start seeing opportunities that might not have been there in certain situations. And I love being able to do workarounds. There's like a dopamine hit for taking something that's not supposed to work and then making it work and then being like, yes. So I like being able to do that. You probably are. I don't know Blender very well. Like the Rathalos stuff I've been doing, that Rathalos model, it took me like weeks to get working because I don't know Blender. And so I had to teach myself, how do I add facial flexes? How do I decompile and recompile correctly? How do I go and rename all the bones in the structure because they were all named bone 1, bone 2, bone 3. So it was something I could work with. How could I fix the rig to make it work with that? That was a lot of work, but it was an investment because that was a tool that I could keep using into the future. In this case, it would be a tool I'd be using for a one-time use, and that's where it's not needed. If it is something that would definitely save me time going into the future, hell yeah, I'll put more time into it because then it is an investment. But for this, it's not. Could have just had a bone to rotate the main around. Yeah, yeah, that's what you said before. What's long 10 months? That's just animation. In general, that's why when I posted some videos like earlier this year, and I had comments that were saying, "Hey, you're not dead." I'm like, I haven't stopped working on stuff. It just the longer the video, the longer it takes, and so there's going to be dry spells. So that's why I've been right now just trying to focus on shorter things because I don't have anything big sitting in the background. So that it's really hard to grow something when you're putting out something so infrequently. So I'm trying to be more consistent, trying to put out more stuff that's shorter that I can do in a lot shorter period of time. And it's also just more motivation. There's more motivation with it because if you're working on the same project for months and months and months and months and months, and you're not getting the feedback that you normally would get from getting something released and then working on something new, you just start feeling like doing it less and less. So I wanted to get my motivation levels back up by doing that and doing stuff like this because I like the interaction bits. Certainly takes a lot of patience and perfection to achieve these great projects. Well, thank you very much. It's SFM, or not just SFM. I keep saying SFM, but it's just animation in general is a practice of patience and it's patience and practice. It's time. And I have like 9,200 hours in the software. Well, 2,000 of it's probably just render times. So it just adds up. And I use the word animation. Being an animator, it would mean working with the models, but there's more to like making YouTube videos than there is for being an animator. There's cinematography, there's lighting, there's scene development, there's story writing. There's a lot more elements that go into it. Animation is a very small slice of that pie. To me, the storytelling and the cinematography are a much more important part of video making than the animation. Animation is just saying, I have the plan. Now I just have to execute it. But developing that plan is difficult. Like in here, having these certain shots built and how everything works. Once I actually knew what I was going to do, executing wasn't difficult. It was just getting to that point that was difficult. Don't do animation, kids. No, I think Alex, you shouldn't talk. The you but your quick style of animation is so glorious, so that's fine. And Celestia's voice is headcanon for me. Crap, I gotta get going. It's very nice. Watching it was great the experience, and hope to watch many more in the near future. Keep making great content. Well, thank you very much. I plan to. I do want to spread out and do, like, that's what the Rathalos thing is. I want to spread out and start playing around in other areas, but I do plan to keep doing stuff like this for a while. You began animation because Alex and me? Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, like he said, heart. This is in heart. I don't even know what to do with my thumbs. Dog maybe do something bad to you. That's weird. Okay. What other ones here? This shot, there's not really much to say on it. I think the one difficult part with this was just like achieving the slow motion randomness. And a lot of the backgrounds and like the dead bodies on the ground you won't understand unless you read the story. But the one thing with anime that they always do is impact. Anytime there's like a strong impact, there's usually a slowdown or something. And that's what I wanted to try to achieve here. And especially if you're having things move really fast, you're going to lose a lot of detail if they're just constantly moving and you're not giving people time to absorb what's going on. This actual jump back was from originally animated for a Fallout trailer I was going to make and then never happened. And so I just recycled the animation since I put the time into it. But there was something fun about trying to build slow motion in an animation. I think it's so fun. I'm so sorry, Tommy. Yes. Hello, Tula Wrench. Welcome. You think animation is hard? Try being an amateur FOE fic writer. It's stressful as heck. I can see. I mean, fan fiction itself is one thing, but trying to get yourself noticed within an environment like FOE that's fun. What video is this for? This is for the Austraeoh video, which I think I basically covered just about everything in this shot. Yeah, let's swap to the other one. If you guys want me to open up a specific video, like you're like, I really, how did you do this thing on this video? Let me know. I have no problem going through. And sometimes I forget what I did. So it helps me remember too. So it might crash. I'm in the red already for RAM. Thanks, Joshua. Let's see here. So this one, the background looks black, but it's actually just nothing. It's this was an actually pretty complicated shot. So there's some text in here that says fade right and fade left. So what I ended up doing for this is, if you look at these, they're basically identical shots for Rainbow Dash's perspective. And so what I did was I copied the animation for her between both shots and the camera, and then basically built two different scenes from it. And then in post, I had it fade between the two shots, which I've done multiple times before. The one really cool thing that with SFM is as long as the camera is the exact same, anything that is copy pasted between each shot in terms of animation is always going to render exactly the same. So you can fade between them and do some really neat things. For instance, Leaving the Stable is probably the most complicated version of that I've done. With this one at the end here. There. This shot right here was actually two different maps, two completely different save files. So when she goes to walk up here, this is two different video files. So I rendered her right around this line. So this line right here is the breakpoint. Down here was a render from within, from under the ground. And then from up here was a completely different map that it was no way to work with them together. And so I masked along this line. That was my base. that it worked with. So that's why you can see it's a little blue here, and then as she climbs up, it gets a little bit more yellow. And I copied the animation for the camera, the door frame, the stairs, and her. I think there's like 4 or 5 models, and I imported them into the new file, rendered them both together, and then masked along that line. And it was surprising how well that worked, because this was a key shot that I wanted. It was the only thing that worked for the transition. Hello, Pex. Changing cow vid. that was a fun one. They will pop up again. I do plan to do more with those characters. I just had to find another like Pinky the Brain short, and I didn't want to keep putting up multiples of the same theme. I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So yeah, that shot. There's nothing other than that. Did I turn the rocks off here? I thought there was some like extra ground stuff. I can't remember. Maybe there's not. In here, I think. No, there wasn't any. I thought I had the walls come in, but I didn't. This one was really annoying because the grass, any animation, there goes the crash. Any animation on that grass does not work after I close the file. I don't know why. So I would have to animate it and then render it. And if the render failed, I'd have to go and reanimate it again. So that one I can't really duplicate every time. It was really annoying, but it was needed because making things move is pretty. SFM 32-bit, ladies and gentlemen, it's horrible. I'm looking forward to getting rid of that, but again, it's there's pros and cons to everything, and I like the pros. There we go. So, no music. So, this is just, I think, multiple trees that I just had overlaid to make that work. This is just a ton of rock models all lined up in a row. I wasn't really happy with how this canyon shot turned out, but you're never gonna be happy with everything. What is with the? Oh, I know what the pink is. So there's a missing texture. I think some of those were custom textures, and it can't find the texture, and so it's defaulting to the missing texture checkerboard. Yeah. This, oh god, this one's a chunker. This is a lot of clouds coming up to make this whole shot work, and I had to use a different map, and it's not going to be loaded here, but it was a mirror map, and that's why this says right here to switch to that map. And that one is crazy. Trying to just think of the unique things I had to do for some of these shots. Oh, interesting thing with this one. So this whole cloud thing, if you remember from the Lyra Vitale video, it looks very similar. That whole video actually came about while working on this shot from Austraeoh, where we played the Final Fantasy VIII song while having Crackle in this video and just doing a really cheap thing, and it was hilarious. And so actually my current roommate, who was Michael, was like, you need to make this into a video, so we did. So it was a video that came about because of this, and so it's funny. It was a fun little it was a super fun video that came out of just a joke. It's not super early for me. You can see it's like 11:30 something here. I call it morning coffee, but I didn't want to like forego East Coast or West Coast people in the United States. So 11 o'clock would make it 9 o'clock there. So that's why I started at 11. What software app do you use for awesome edits? I have the Adobe suite. So it depends on what I'm editing. So if I am working on like stream highlights or something, I'll use Premiere. But if I'm working on these videos, I can't. And that is because previewing 4K image sequences is not easy. I can't swipe as quick. It just, I had problems with trying to do that before. So I tend to use After Effects for everything for this because of that. Because Oh, I can't load it because I'm streaming from that. But I have a server PC set up right now with, and um, it is like for like 10 seconds of footage, it's like a couple gigabytes, and it's just too much for the system to swipe back and forth. And I render everything in 4K not because 4K cool high resolution. It's actually because it's higher bit rate on YouTube, and bit rate to me is more important than resolution. So that's why I do it. And it gives you a little bit of flexibility too. Spice up in my textures. Yeah, well, going into I like to modify things a lot. So when I'm done with the video and I kind of forget about it and I toss in the background, then I'll go and work on something else and I'll modify some other stuff in the background. And then voila, I forget that something got modified. And so things break. But that's fine because the video is done. I don't need to worry about it anymore. I didn't think I opened the first one here. I don't think there's anything else in this one that's important. Not really. I'm trying to think of like those things that like you wouldn't think about when watching something. Like, why is this way? Is this pink again? I think this one's that one's purposefully pinkish. This one though, what has one of the more iconic shots from the book, which I wanted to make sure got in there. Which is, oh, this one's neat. Again, playing with perspective. If this is the camera not moving. So the ground here is actually moving just a little bit. So I am not moving right now. I am stationary. So all of the ground and everything is actually moving up to give a better feel of the perception change, because while I'm putting the camera backwards, it's not actually that far away. So it's going to change more than it should. So I'm moving it physically to offset that. And I usually just go off gut feeling. So I'll just watch it and say, like, does this feel right? And if it doesn't, then I'll keep changing it until it feels right. Sometimes I don't know what I need to change or why I need to change it. I just change it until it feels right. And I just trust my gut on a lot of it. And that's gotten me through most things. One thing that's nice about spending a lot of time working on something, putting more and more time into a software or something, is you can just start trusting your instincts more because you're just working on automatic, which is pretty useful. So, no, the cabin shot is one of the more iconic shots from the story. And so I put a lot of time into making sure that it is represented. The sky's not the same. It's a little broken. I really love this. Again, the skies. This is the correct texture. I might be able to fix that quick here. Which one is this? Come on. Oh, I don't have this override. This has got to be Sky 1. Yes, it is. Which is this one. And that would be what it is. So right now it's set to ignore lights. And now it isn't. So it should darken. Yep, there it goes. So movie magic. So this one actually, I am really proud of this one because it was where the first time I put green in the sky. And it'd normally be like, why would you put green in the sky? Well, when you have an orange sunrise and a blue sky, it is natural to put green in the middle. And so it seems really weird, but once the final product was put together, it just felt really good. I had to like manually light all these little bottom edges of all these clouds and on the top here to give it depth that wasn't there otherwise. I'm really happy with this shot. Really, really happy. What props are you using for scene build? All over the place. I like browsing the workshop for lots of stuff. A lot of the TF2 models, a lot of these are just like built by hand. So like this whole cabin is just pallets. Pallets and dirt and grass, and all of this was custom put. I don't like using too many pre-built things because I feel like if you take a pre-built thing, like say I use like 2 Fort from TF2, people aren't going to see it for the reason that I'm using it. Or if I'm trying to have it represent something else, they're going to see it as two for it. And I don't like having that association, that connection. It's the same thing like remembrance. The reason that I wanted to build a custom hall for stuff is that it didn't feel emotionally connecting if I have somebody already had a preconceived connection to something else. So I wanted to make it something unique. And so in here, by building it and making it unique, everything that is within it is for that moment. And it is not connected to anything else. It's not connected to people seeing it in something else or seeing something else. I like having that unique experience. And that's why these are all built. That takes a lot more time. Putting this whole cabin together. I don't know if I have a master shot for this. I don't think I do now. But I actually built an actual full cabin. Yeah, I think this is the full shot, or one of the full shots. So I built a full cabin. And then I played with all the camera angles, and it's only after I built everything that I went and deleted anything that wasn't in shot, because it'll just make it render faster, and it'll make it just render or preview better so I can actually work in the environment. Otherwise, I'm going to be running at a super low frame rate. Like the Austraeoh video, that the leaving the stable, that whole vault or stable was built. Like it's all connected in the whole thing for the whole video. But if I kept everything on there at all times, I would have crashed. It would have been too much stuff. There would have been way too many lights. So the whole thing is built into segments that then once I got the camera locked down, I deleted everything else. And then the frame rate went from like 5 FPS preview to like 30. I can work in 30. I did a video a while back, The Heroes Arise, which is a 360 shot. Problem with that is I can't hide anything. That on preview with all the lights on is 1 frame a second. I have to shut the lights off just to run it in like 12 frames a second. It is so hard to work in that one. And I'm trying to render that one again in 4K. That's a 50-hour render. Maybe go on vacation and start that one and then let it crash and then come back to nothing. So yeah, but this is the cabin then. Why is this big mountain in the way? Oh, for this shot. So this one, you're actually, I think, in the mountain? Oh, no. Because it's so far away, I had to move it closer to the edge because I needed more visual distance. So it's just further over there. That's what that was. I think that's all the stuff from this video. I always like trying to do during these some kind of an animator promo because I like to help other people get noticed if they can. And so I was kind of going through some more recent videos that some people put out. And the one I saw for today was Skytails. Very small channel with a lot of actually pretty cool stuff mixed within Blender and SFM. And I really like their stuff. Like they're doing pretty cool stuff. I think this one's preloaded just to kind of show kind of example of what they are, some of the stuff they've done. This is Blender.
Now, what have we learned? Lots of control. Good. Screaming and hollering. Yes, and most important,
I really like the background and everything. I'm really a big fan of background stuff. And this one I think looks really, really good for that.
Let's hear one. Yay. Ugh, you're gonna cheer for me like that? Louder.
I'm not sure which models these are too.
Louder.
They look a little different.
Yay.
But yeah, it looks really good. And they do SFM stuff too. They have like these chapters from Austraeoh that are like fully voice acted in some of the scenes and everything. They're actually very well done. I recommend like checking some of their videos out, and they're still active. A lot of the stuff is pretty recent. Like that cheer was actually put up 4 days ago. So it's really good. So I recommend giving them some support and love if you can. Definitely recommend it. It does look really good. Other than that, so I can open up some other video stuff if you guys want. Remember, if you have any questions for anything, be sure to ask. Scott is very talented. Yeah, I love, because when I started out in the community stuff, this was back in like 2012. SFM was still kind of looked at negatively, very negatively, because a lot of the models that existed at the time are low poly. They weren't very good. And when I started, it was about the exact same time that the new Naka models came out. And so I got lucky in that I had my animation skills weren't that great at the beginning, but I had the benefit of like suddenly using new models and at this perfect time. And so I got in. It was easy to get buffed up at the beginning. It's a lot more flooded market now, and it's really hard to get noticed. So a lot of these smaller channels are just, it's difficult to get your feet in the ground. So definitely go if you see somebody that's smaller and is doing great work, let them know that the motivation levels that from that are just amazing. Are you having fun? I'm always having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm actually off work for the next 9 days because I took like Monday through Wednesday off, and then it's Thanksgiving weekend. So I'm like, I have a full over week off. So I'm looking forward to just having some R&R time. Maybe start working on some stuff. I'm kind of between videos right now. I'm working on a Rathalos thing, but because I'd like doing that between the pony videos. But I am trying to think of something that I can make that is in like the 20 or 30-second range, because I have big ideas. I have stuff like 4 or 5 minutes long, but a lot of them use copyrighted music, and I'm trying to stay away from doing that. I used to do that a lot more, and it's caused some difficulties in the past, and so I'm trying to move towards not copyrighted stuff, copyrighted music, and but that removes most of my big ideas. So I'm working on that. Actually, I'm going to open up the one we just did. The idea behind this like Applejack short I put out yesterday was I want to make something really quick, something I can make in like 2 or 3 streams, because I'm working on most of the stuff on Twitch, and 2 or 3 streams means finishing a video in about 8 to 10 hours, which is about what this was. So this map is the one that's loaded. This was added very last minute. I wanted something to add at the end of it that I thought would be funny, and so we just added Trixie. There's really not much to say about this one. This was I just put this texture together in that Photoshop in like 10 minutes. But this was just put in really quick. The music was added later, like very last minute. Let me load in the correct map for this. I just like using. Oh, you are very bright. You're still very bright. Okay, so now since the background, because I went and enabled lighting on it, it is now looking dark because I don't have actual lights shined at it. This is where I have to go back here and do unlit. Unlit meaning that it is not self-lit, but it's ignoring all map lighting, and it's using the like default max lighting that the engine has, which is like level 12. I think there's like 12 levels of lighting in SFM, and so now it's bright. But if I shine a light at it, it will not light up. It will ignore all lighting, which is the benefit of having the other way. But then I have to light it myself. The nice thing with having the engine handle it is it just tends to be more evenly lit, and in this case that's kind of worked out that way. And I've done before, like hiding my OC in places. He is hidden in there. He's very sneak, but because of the depth of field, you can't really see him at all, but he's there. He's just very sneaky. There was a couple different audio bits we were going to use for this video. I ended up going with this one because immediately when I heard the audio of becoming a unicorn, I'm like, I need to do this with Applejack, like, and then have it fall off and get angry about it. And it was just something. It was just something to be short, sweet, and fun, and simple. And so that's really all this is. All these models, I think every one of these models, every one of these models that's visible in here, other than the sky card, was made by Disco Pairs. Fantastic modeler. This was originally made for, except for my OC, that wasn't. That was made for Nutrifin's video. Oh, I forgot. True Friend, the True Friend song. And these are just fantastic. Not just for their quality of look, but the way that they're built for all the shading and lighting. It's so good. Good evening from Russia. That is good evening. Jeez, my day's just started. Hitting real good. Well, I hope you didn't see him at first, because if you're able to pull out the details from like the blur that comes from this, then you got some good eyes. Like he's super sneak. He was, I don't know for anybody who was here last time I did this after the Changeling video. He's in the Changeling video in a very, very similar fashion. Let me see if I can open that one. It's not recent. Oh, didn't mean to save it, but whatever. I think the RAM should hold out. These are small videos. Where does your name come from? It is from oh god. He's very sneak. It is from way back when 360 came out, Xbox 360. I was trying to come up with a gamer tag for use in the system, and I hate names with numbers, so I didn't want to be like XX Gamer XX4297 or something. I hated that. I wanted something that was more of a unique identifier with just all letters. And so at the time I was playing Oblivion, because it had just come out on that system, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And so I was playing an Argonian at the time, and you're going against Daemons. And so I just merged the two together. I thought about changing name over time, but I kind of got to a point of like I stopped caring, so I just kind of went with it. It doesn't, other than it was just something to be unique, so that if I went and made an email account or I made an account on some other place, it wasn't taken. It's a little more difficult now because the bigger the name became with YouTube, I started having it sniped in a couple places. When it started becoming an issue, I tried to lock down name in a couple places, but I just wanted something unique, and that worked for me. I'm glad I actually didn't change it when I did the pony thing, because why? And now it feels still more general. I finally managed to see one of your streams. Greetings from Italy. Well, hello, Torque. And I see now. Cool. I stream twice a week on Twitch too. So if you ever, but that's more like 3 a.m. UTC. It's a little late for that it ends. That's a little late for some people. Oh. SFM has an interesting thing with the camera that if you keep zooming, it will eventually invert. So if I keep zooming in and I get past its max zoom, it'll actually invert back, and it gets really goofy. All the controls get negative. So like this is me going up, but I'm actually going down in the video. And if I keep zooming in, it'll go back to normal. But now see, this is me going down and this is me going up, and it is super touchy, and it should also be glitchy. No, actually it's looking pretty good this time. But like I am moving just the mouse a teeny tiny bit. It is so it's like multiplying the values. It's really weird. There, back to normal. It's fence goofy. And 2 is inspired over Oblivion. The Knights of the Thorn of Sindel. Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't really play Elder Scroll at all anymore. I mean, I like Skyrim. I've enjoyed a lot of the series, but I really don't play it much. I do more Fallout stuff than I've done with anything with Elder Scrolls. But the name just kind of stuck. And there's a funny story from Ciderfest. I think it was Michelle Worthley. So she's she's Charlie Worthley's wife from who runs the convention. And so my name in most places, I just keep a lowercase a. Not that it matters to me. I think I just like the look of it. And it feels like this less more of a pronoun and just more of an identifier. And, but it doesn't matter to me if it's capital A or not. And I guess when I was doing community guests for some of the Cider Fest, she was always, she was getting angry at people that were putting capital A for stuff. She goes, no, he has his name in lowercase and you put it in lowercase. And I'm like, no, it's fine. And she goes, no, I'm doing it right. And she's very dedicated to her work. But I thought it was really funny. I'm like, no, it's fine. You can just do whatever. But are you married? No, I am single. I have a roommate that's here. Well, he's not here right now. He's actually just flew out He actually flies out in like a half hour. He's going to his parents in Kentucky for the week, but so I'm here by myself for this week. But nope, I am single, and it is single, no kids. So and I'm 36, so all the money for me. I'm trying to think, is there anything goofy in this one? Because we did go over this one. Oh, there's one really funny face here. This is one of those things where it's talking about where if it's not or what is on camera is the only thing that actually matters. And this is one of those scenes that this works like this. And I like doing this as during streams because showing that it doesn't matter. And so here, only one of her legs is moving. The rest of it is just her bobbing up and down, because why take the time to animate something if I don't need to? But it's also that's what she looks like. And because who cares? You can't see that in the shot. So whatever. And it ends up working out fine for what you can see. Oh, behind the scenes. Nice. So we're waiting to do SFMLP, but I find it hard to learn. So it's nice to see behind the scenes. Mentioned before, I stream twice a week. And the main purpose of streaming was originally started because people were asking a lot of questions and it was hard to do one-on-one help. So anytime any questions come up on the stream, I do help. I will stop to explain what I'm doing, and I try to explain as I go. Sometimes I get like the reason that my second YouTube channel is called the Argo Zone, or has a big logo for that. It's because I sometimes forget I'm streaming, and I'll just kind of get zoned in on stuff. There's also this. For those that might not have caught it, there's actually a Minecraft cow back here. I kind of colored him green and darker, so it's harder to see when passing by. But this originally was going to be this in replacement of what was the name of that? Winona, I think. No, that's the dog. I forgot. Arizona. There it is. It was going to be Arizona, but then because we couldn't get this model to work, but then we ended up getting it to work, and went in the end. Also, a little neat tidbit: the eyes for Yona are technically supposed to be like a greenish brown. I ended up the thing I'm going for, I'm going to use anytime I use these characters and they're playing as someone else, I'm going to recolor their eyes to match their eyes as changelings to help identify who they are. So if they're both the same person, you can tell them apart. And it's the same thing with with Arizona here. But the thing with Arizona is her actual eyes for the model are that. And to me, that looks like there's some drugs involved. Like she's on something. And so when I did the recolor, I feel like that actually works better. It's not true to the character then, but it actually really gave a lot of life to the character and didn't look so weird. There's just the face. Yes, the face was a little... I love doing stupid faces. I don't think I have any other background faces on this one. Trying to think of it. Oh, there is one. There's a couple like just weird background things. In the chemistry video, more things that are hidden. Why is this? That is not the right file. Oh, this is because I switched it to 60, I think. The chemistry video is rendered at 60 and it didn't feel right. So I ended up taking the render at 60 and then just removing every other frame when I rendered it. Took back to 30 because it just doesn't feel impactful. People might think 60 is better, but for cinematic and certain things that are trying to look movie-esque, 24 is way better. It looks so much better. So this, right at the end here, more of the things that work only from the angle. So Celeste here is actually smoking. Because why not? It's not on camera, so we'll go with it. It's a merge of multiple models to get her to work. There's going to be a lot of texture errors in this one. Interesting with this, though, there's an actual filter in SFM to remove color. That's what this effect is. So if I actually disable that, it'll put the color back in. And to get this look that they were moving, this is actually the same shot, and I just changed the skin of it to make it look like they were making a circle. It's just disabled right now. Oh, these ones. These are nifty. So in the background, I needed an inverted shadow. And I'm like, how do you make an inverted shadow? And make a YouTube channel and do YouTube videos, because the person's name. So to actually do this, I have a second version of them right here. And then I made a negative light. So negative light is about making darkness instead of light. And so this is casting the negative light through them. I couldn't use the original model because if I did that, I would be making them darker. That would be weird. So I cast this negative light through the model. And in doing so, it's darkening the lit background around that. So it is an inverted shadow. And it actually ended up working. So you can see him here. If I move him, you can see. It's kind of cool. It's a cool effect. Like, I was super happy when I figured out that. All I could understand was how to make shadow. So what this is essentially doing is this negative light, which is right here. So this light is casting inverse light, so it's black instead of white. And so you can see that it's actually then on the lit background. So this is already lit, but it is then darkening the area around it. So it's neat, and it was kind of weird. Inverted lights are super useful, but they're complicated as hell to figure out because they tend to destroy things. And it only really worked well in black and white. Because when I turn the lights on, it's a lot just different. There's also a neat effect. I just don't think it's going to work right now. Yeah. To get the like watery effect on this, that was a super complicated bit of like using a liquid model and then like stretching all the bones out to like very, very far extremes, adding in shadows, and then moving it through a light. It was really messy. It worked though. And that's what matters, because I was trying to stay away from using After Effects for anything as much as possible, because there's some people will be like, well, I want to do this, but I don't have the software to make it work. Well, I did all this for free, so I didn't need After Effects to do it. And I like being able to tell people, like, you can get similar effects if you just are creative with using for free software instead. Your animation is so good. Thanks, Damali. Appreciate it. All games data device, you call me Twilight. I'm not sure to say in there. It's a ritual. All right, but I am over my hour here. And I did a lot of this stuff. I was meaning to only do the one video, but then here I go jump into another. Oh, just one last neat thing with this. So in this video, the one big massive shot where everybody is visible at once, I had to split that into a separate render because that shot alone took so much RAM for all allocated for this video that I had to make its own file for stuff. And so it has its own separate render. That's why that one's black, because I had to do it separate. That one was an interesting one to do, but it turned out really well. I'm really happy with this video. Oh, another neat thing. I did so many little background things. The little cut in the ground here is actually a negative light. So negative light is the inverse of light. And I just colored it red. So this is actually just a very, very thin light that I'm casting. And I just have it right here start very close to the light and then just increase its distance as it went. And it actually worked really good, especially for how fast this shot passes through. All I needed to do was just show up for a couple frames, and I'm happy with the result. So I love this guy though. This guy right for the camera, he pops up and I don't even know what he's attacking. He's just like, wow. He's not even, whatever. It looks cool and that's all that matters. Good lecture. I'm making Celestia talk to Twilight as a smoker. No smoking. Smoking is bad. That's what happens. You get your head stuck in Discord. I can't really think of anything else in this video right now that's not going to take some time. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do today. Just kind of chill and give you guys some behind the scenes stuff. Let's see how you storyboard these. If you want to trade it right now, I have a couple more minutes. Well, this one's a little bit more complicated because it's so many different scene builds, but the process is basically the same. I have one from Leaving the Stable. So this is generally how I will do my storyboard. Sliding ponies. So I want to figure out all my cinematography, all the camera work and everything beforehand. So I'll just kind of throw them into a shot and I'll have them slide around, move around to get that feeling for what I'm trying to get. And I know in my head what I want the final product to be. So I don't care about getting it to be perfect. I just want to get an idea of, does this camera work? And even on some of this at the beginning, I did really like it and I changed it. But it gives me that progression. So once I start putting work into it, I'm not wasting work by like redoing and redoing and redoing because I changed a camera angle and now this isn't animated, but now I can't use the original animation because of how it tied in with other things. So it's very much about just bouncing around and like his head turned before. I'm surprised I didn't put it there. Jiggles aren't working. I didn't care. I think even there's like a fade to black part here by accident. Yeah, this kind of fades to black because I forgot about something in the render.
Where did Velvet get this? And why?
I'm not sure what's going on or why, Velvet, but I'm sure of what I'm going to do.
The decision was made, there and then, to leave the stable and find Velvet. To leave the stable that no pony had ever left before.
So it gets done when I need to do it, because somebody brought up yesterday during the stream about planning and like that they just want to get right into and work on stuff, but you're just spending so much extra time working on extra things you don't need to. Planning is, to me, one of my favorite parts. I love being able to put the storyboards together, but it just helps save so much time. You storyboard inside SFM. Well, the nice thing about storyboarding inside SFM is then if you do storyboard outside of that, you're starting from more of from a nothing standpoint when you actually go to work on it. This is nice because then I can immediately jump into working on what is there. I don't have to go and recreate it all. And it really helps build it in my head, the vision of what I'm doing, if I can actually see it. I'm very much a visual learner. And also, I can't draw. Like, the best I'd be able to do is like a stick for the body and two little extra sticks for, I guess horses have 4 legs. And like, it to me wouldn't be enough to visualize what I'm actually doing, because sometimes what you see in your head is not possible in reality. Like, your brain is not using correct physics and everything. And so by putting it here, I'm able to get some of the corrections that I need in that and go the correct direction without being misguided by my evil brain. Let's see here. Thanks, RV. Made me think outside the box for a lot of things I want to do in some of my animations. You really do a lot with a single tool, as long as you keep finagling everything. Yeah, and like I mentioned before, the more you do something like that, the more you start figuring out these weird workarounds, the better you get at connecting all those different workarounds into making some really unique way, like the negative lights for the negative shadow. I would have never thought to do that unless I had before started playing with negative shadows in certain ways to even let that thought be there. You wouldn't think to grab a screwdriver to remove a screw from something unless you actually knew that the screwdriver existed. Otherwise, you're going to look at it and be like, what the hell is that thing? You don't even think about it now because it's been a part of your life forever, but it's a tool that you've known and you know exists, and so you know when to use it. And so by finding the workarounds, you're just adding more and more tools to your bag. And eventually you'll be like, well, what if I use this one and this one together? That's where you start getting into the advanced stuff. That's super fun. It's cool. Just showing the amount of experience kind of using SFM. Yeah, it's a bad software, but I love it. So I like the simplicity. Do you do it frame by frame for SFM or what to make the animation? So for this, I don't care about the quality. But once I actually am animating, I will do, do I still have some of that? I think I got rid of it. I thought I had one file that I still kept the original motion bits for, but there's something called pose to pose is what I tend to do. And that's about, moving. I don't think I have it anymore. It's not in here, and my flash drive's too far away. And it's where you're basically stop motioning people to the certain important poses, and then I'll blend between those. So a lot of these, it's not going to be in here, I think. Actually, you know what? This might still exist for. Haha. So for this, I actually kept the keyframe because I was afraid that by losing it, I would have problems. So this is keyframe sparkle. So for this fight scene, I just keyframed a bunch of like cool moves for her to do. And then I animated the tentacle things afterwards to fit what she was doing, because it was just way easier that way. So each of these, and I don't think she's actually moving. So each of these is just the random poses that I put in and I felt were important pieces during the motion. Ignore that she's missing a leg. It just must be busted or something. And then it's just about blending between these. So blend between these two, and then you adding some secondary animation to make the connecting elements of it work. If you're doing a lot of fast-paced action, then you're going to need to add a lot more of these keyframes and these poses. But if you're doing something slower, you might be doing multiple seconds between different poses. So it just depends on the type of action. This was much faster paced, so it just was needed. Why is... Oh, that's just base. Because of how this model is set up, it's multiple models. So this is the automail from Blackjack. That's why you can see the Blackjack cutie mark on there. Put over her body. So to actually animate these, I had to animate two models at the same time. Oh, that sucked. Because if I wanted to copy this to another new scene, I couldn't, because you can't copy a locked model like that. It was really annoying. No, I'm not doing Siren Head. Alpha to reveal textures and amplify light intensity. Yeah, there's so many of the texture modifications you can do to just play with stuff. Do you open up SFM every day? Hell no. I tend to work the most in streams. So like on Tuesday, Friday, that's when I do most of my work, because it's easy to stay motivated. I'll sometimes do work outside of it, but I still have a full-time job that I work 40 hours a week, and I do some other editing stuff. So time-wise, it's just, if I were to work on stuff outside of stream time, I'd be spending like half my free time just working on stuff. And so I take what relaxing time I can. I work on stuff when I'm motivated. If I'm not, I'm just not going to have a good product. How do you get the MLP mods? If you go to, there's a website called ponysfm.com. That's going to have most of the models you'd ever need. They're all free. You animate in Photoshop, talk about writing software for the job. I thought you would have used like Toon Boom, but it's again, like SFM has its problems, but it's what I'm comfortable with. If I were to move to Blender, I could do it, but it would be there's ups and downs. Yeah, it's better detail, but SFM's big benefit is it's made for TF2. It's made for what already looked cartoonish, and that's what ponies are. So I feel like you can. It's a better middle ground between realistic 3D and cartoonish. And so I like that ability, but it's also just simple and it's what I'm used to. I like making videos, not animating. So if I switch to something else, I'd be spending so much time just learning it that I'd be putting out less stuff. Is your Patreon not sustainable? Oh no, it's I still do Patreon stuff. I want to expand that a little bit because I want to be able to bring on some people for editing and stuff on the side. Anything I make from YouTube and Patreon and all that, I want to put right back into the animating stuff. I don't want to hold on to any of it. And so I've done a lot of hardware upgrades. Like this camera is a new one for streaming. I got like I don't probably you can't really see it, but there's because I got like there's a light hiding right there. It's sorry, it's attached to my monitor, so it's a little hard to play around with that. I got some lights. I built a server PC for data storage and streaming purposes. So it's a lot of the stuff that I've been investing back in. And so, but I want to make Patreon more value added because right now it's like I release stuff there early and some other stuff, but I don't, besides that, there's not much value to it. So I really want to add some more value. Right now it's just anything over $1 and just supporting, which and I super appreciate everybody that does. If you make videos, you must have to animate, right? Yeah. But animating to me is a very small portion of the video process. If you're able to make enough money from Patreon, would you quit your job and do animation full time? So with how things were a couple months ago, it was looking like I could. And that's actually one of the reasons when I brought up before about the copyright thing and why I'm no longer using copyrighted audio is because I did the math. And if my top 5 videos are all copyrighted audio. If I would not have used copyrighted audio for those, I actually would have been able to quit my job 3 years ago and done this full time and still been able to sustain off of that. So because of that, I'm trying to change that mentality so that I can move towards that. So I screwed myself over earlier on, which I'm not looking at it negatively because Remembrance wouldn't be Remembrance without the music that was used, and Luna's Banishment is awkward on its own. But that stuff is, looking back on it like that, I would have been able to. So right now, I'm a quality analyst at a defense contractor, so I make really good money as it is. So it'd be really hard to be able to leave that to maintain where I am. But I feel like if it were to move in the right direction, I would actually, yes, like to potentially do that in the future of try to do it full time. Because right now it is difficult when I only can work on things for like 7 to 10 hours a week at most, that without hitting burnout territory. You guys got a lot of big questions here. Have you seen the cloth brush tool that some people have used for Blender? It's an insane thing for making models in Blender. Nope, because I don't know Blender. I know about this much on Blender. I've learned enough to do some of the Rathlow stuff to get that working, and then Toby Kadachi and the Gigante have added some facial flexes to. But I've only learned what I needed to know, and the problem with doing that is if you don't start with a solid base to work up from, and instead you're just grabbing and picking the pieces you know or you need, you tend to know less than I feel like if you just don't know anything. So I don't know too much on all that stuff. Are you going to continue making these for MLP, or are you going to work more on another project? No, I plan to keep doing MLP, but I want to spread out. I want, like, that's what the Rathlos thing is a little bit. It's, if I want to grow and become bigger and like I'm not going to do much more within the MLP community. I am very comfortable working in it, so that's why I like doing it, and I will continue doing it. But if I want to try to gain a larger audience, I have to. So that's where I'm kind of stuck in a conundrum of I'm not sure. I don't want to move forward with anything until I have a plan. So that's why I haven't really moved anywhere on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have Patreon supporters, wouldn't you not need to worry about getting money from YouTube? You could get demonetized all you want and it wouldn't matter. Yeah, there is that benefit. But right now, the support that's on Patreon is only a percentage of everything. YouTube is at least right now a larger portion, and also Patreon is set on a per video release. And when I only do a video, like previously when I was doing one every 6 months, that's not very, it's not enough to support in that regard. That's why I'm trying to do smaller stuff, and I want to swap that to a monthly bit with other more tiers that have more benefits to people. But I don't want to start adding a benefit and tiered structure on Patreon if I'm not ready to support that tiered structure. So that's why I haven't done it. I have a plan written up. I just not ready to execute it yet. Hey, Blender. Love Rathalos. He's a good boy. Blender is pretty fun. You've used basically Blender equivalent of SFM. I've heard even Blender itself has really cool video editing stuff. Like so for people that can't afford good video editing, that you can just use Blender. I haven't played with it myself, but I've heard a lot of good things on it. But no, so I do have ideas of what I want to do going forward, but like I said, until I know exactly what I want to do, I'm not like pushing any buttons. I did modify my channel a bit. A lot of my really old stuff, like pre-Pony stuff, I deleted recently, not recently, like a couple months ago, because I had limitations of what I could do in my channel due to how much copyrighted audio I was using. So I had to get rid of some certain videos to get up to the level where it would unlock certain options, like the join options. So like the Patreon equivalent on YouTube. So now I have that option enabled because I cleared out some of the backlog of copyrighted stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I have to see. There's still a lot of stuff I want to figure out, but I don't want to go forward until I know what I'm doing. What software do you use? I use Source FilmMaker, Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere, Adobe Photoshop, Audacity for audio editing. It's free. VTF Edit for texture editing, and Source FilmMaker. Streamlabs for streaming. Trying to think of what else I might use. Keep all my useful ones here. Notepad++. Notepad++ is awesome. Oh, this is a nifty one. Snagit. If you don't have that, it's a replacement for your print screen key. I love this because if I can just go like print screen, that's this one, right? Yeah. And I'd be like, I want to take a screenshot of boop. And I could then tell it to record. I can take the screenshot. I can go in here and then I can be like, oh, no, this is lewd. And it's super nice for being able to do really quick screen grabs and basic video editing all within one tool. It costs money, but I use this at work for like a day, and I loved it so much I bought it that night. So it's really nifty. Can I do a Discord mod aggro? Who asked me to do it? I don't know what you're talking about. This was still most useful. So I bought this a couple of years ago and it was like $30. I think the prices went up, and I have an older version of it. It is super, and I'm like there's a ton of features in this. It has a backlog, so it keeps track of, like, when I put out a recent video for well, actually here's your comment. That one for the recent highlights. I went and was able to grab all the screenshots super easy and do all the cropping right in here so that I could get them all down to the size that I needed. You can do fill, you can copy paste these within each other. The blurring is super useful because you can like even pixelate stuff and then change its intensity. Oh no, that's not pixel. This is pixel. So it just depends on how you want to do it. And that's not even touching a ton of the stuff this thing can do. I love it. And being that it replaces my print. Oh, you know what the other super useful one is? I won't be able to use it here, but when you hit print screen and you're hovering over something that has a scroll bar, it will show an arrow. And if you click that arrow, it will actually screenshot and scroll down and screenshot everything as it's scrolling. So it can make much longer picture of anything with the scroll bar. That is super cool. And you can even do a corner bit where it'll just keep screenshotting and make giant screenshots. Really useful. The screenshot grabber. Yes, I love screenshot grabbing. It's super useful. I use it all the time. Like when I'm on Discord and I'm like, something weird happens. I can hit print screen, boop, copy paste, and it's in. I can put things into Discord in like 3 seconds. That was on my screen. Super, super great. Nonetheless though, so I am way over time. You guys had some good questions right at the end there. So, so I'm gonna end it here. I do plan. I want to try to do this again every time I put out a video afterwards. So if you guys have any questions, if you see another video come out in the future that's not a highlight, I will try to do this again, just because it is fun. But if you are interested in learning more on SFM or just seeing more stream stuff, I do stream basically the same as this twice a week on Twitch. Tuesday and Friday. The reason I do Twitch and not YouTube is so that I'm not spamming you guys twice a week with streams when I'm only putting out a video like once a month, and it keeps spoilers for potential future content to a separate location, so I'm not accidentally spoiling people on like the Yona part or like knowing how a video is going to end unless somebody wants to. That's why it's separate. What is my life? I have the same question. Take care, dude. First time hopping in. Well, thanks for coming on, LMX. Keep up the great work yourself. You're going to be in a highlights video. It's already out. I put that out a week ago in a day. Your name's on it a couple times because it was during the request stream when we had that. Yeah. So thank you guys. Have a good couple weeks. And whatever. Stay safe. Stay safe during this holidays with all this sick stuff. So, oh yes. You just have to watch it. Okay, see y'all later. Have a good one. I'm gonna end this the same way that we end the normal streams, which is with Kitty. I don't know why. It's been a thing. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.